Hello and welcome to our fifth in our series of In Conversation. I'm here and in Exeter and I'm joined with the wonderful Graham. Over to you, Graham. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, Emily. It's good to see you. I'm Graham Soult. I'll bring up my slide and then you can see who I am.
Perfect.
Can you see that?
Yes, yeah. I can.
Yes. So that's me. I'm Graham Soult from cannyinsights.com, and I've tried to distill a few of my top tips really into this 20 minutes or so. I normally do whole talks and whole workshops about all kinds of aspects of business, including kind of marketing and social media and all that kind of thing. But I've tried to pick a few nuggets to share over the course of the 20 minutes or so. So I've called it 5 top tips for promoting your high street business, and I've peppered it with lots of examples of the businesses I work with in places like Durham and Chesley Street, where I'm there on the ground helping businesses like Mark here from Malin and Mac in Durham to basically spread the word, I think, about what they're doing in many cases, and just being there as a source of support, because sometimes it's just important for independent traders to have someone there who they can bounce ideas off, and who's there and who's got their back. So a quick intro. That's me in one of my famous scarves in a northeast high street, talking about some issue or another on Look North. I won't give you a big intro and things because there's not really time, but in short, I'm often described by the BBC and ITV and others as like a northeast Mary Portas, really. So I kind of get out there. I work with shops and shopping centres and towns to help them improve their offer and their marketing. That's the essence of what I do. I call myself a retail consultant, and I basically help businesses and places to do what they're doing even better. And that's why the focus of my talk today, a lot of it is about how do you spread the word about what you're up to? How do you make the customer experience really good? Because I'm kind of working on the basis that a lot of the businesses in Exeter, or almost all of them probably, are already really good in terms of knowing their products, having a passion for what they do. And I can't put passion in people if it's not already there. They need to have that. But often I think people have the passion, but they don't always have the marketing know-how or the networks or the tools to kind of spread that enthusiasm and spread that passion. And it gives me a great buzz when I can do that and help businesses to kind of get what they offer in front of more people, and ultimately get more money through the tills, which is what we all want. So I'll go straight on to tip 1, and tip 1 is get on Google My Business. So it's an easy one to do, it's free, and if you're not quite sure what Google My Business is, here's an example. So I searched for John Lewis Exeter, and that's what comes up. And the Google My Business bit is that section on the right, basically. It's that panel that shows up on the right hand side when you search for a business of some kind. And you can see that John Lewis has updated its own listing. It says it's updated by business 1 week ago. It's got information there about services in store. It's got updates about COVID. So it's an example of a business that has taken over its Google listing. And here again is another one from Exeter, just on Google Maps. So again, that same panel is what you see on the left if you click on a business on Google Maps. So in terms of the key lesson here is to make sure, first of all, that your business is on Google Maps, because if you've launched a new business, it might not be. So it's important to make sure that it is, and you can add your business on if it's not already there. And the second thing is that if your business is on Google Maps, to make sure that you have claimed your listing. And that process is very easy. You just go onto the listing, find where it says, is this your listing, claim it, and you can do that usually over the phone if you have a landline in the business, or via a postcard. And that can all be done in a few days. And then it lets you update your listing with pictures, opening times, news, updates, and that kind of thing has never been more important really than in the current situation with COVID, where people are looking for timely and up-to-date information about whether places are open or not, whether they're serving food in the restaurant, or whether they're just doing delivery or all that kind of thing. So tip 2, be social. Emily knows that I'm very social. I'm all over Twitter and things, and I wanted to give a very quick overview of 3 of the most important channels to be on. I think if people ask me what they should do in terms of social media, I tend to say, well, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter are probably the important ones. So a quick run through, very quick. Instagram, so obviously it's visual, it's all about the images. Hashtags are something that are more important in Instagram because it's a bit harder to be found if you don't use hashtags. It's very global, so potentially you can get your products like Monty's here from Exeter seen in front of businesses all over the place. It's only via the app, so you can't do it on the website. You have to do it via the phone, but that's fine. It integrates quite nicely with Facebook because obviously kind of Facebook owns Instagram, so it's relatively easy to post things from Instagram straight onto Facebook, and that's becoming more and more easier as Facebook introduces more and more alignment between the platforms. And you can't share or retweet on Instagram in the way that you can, on Facebook or Twitter, but you can post things onto stories. And I'm certainly finding that if I'm managing the account for, say, Indie Durham City, it's proving quite effective when I take independent traders in Durham and I share their posts onto my Indie Durham City stories, and those are getting a good reaction and plenty of hits. So it's a way of getting around the fact that you can't do a direct share because Instagram is all about having your own original content really on your main Instagram feed. Facebook, all of us know Facebook. I think it's where many of the real customers are, which is obviously useful. It lets you post updates that are longer than on Twitter, which is also good if you've got more to say. You can boost posts that do well, which is often worthwhile. But it's probably harder on Facebook than it is on Twitter to make links with other businesses and to do that networking side, which can be really important, and that I'll talk about a bit more in a moment. And arguably the interface of Facebook pages is quite hard to get to grips with. It's always changing, and there's different ways of doing it, different apps, different interfaces. So again, that's something that I quite often end up helping businesses with in the places where I'm commissioned, because I think Facebook's business interface can often be a barrier because it's not very user friendly. But once you've got the hang of it, it's not too bad. And a quick update of Twitter. I'm a big Twitter fan. I tend to get between about 500 and 800,000 Twitter impressions each month for my tweets, as Soult. So it shows you the power of tweets, and the joy of tweets is that they're quick and dirty. You can just, if you're in the shop, you can snap something, you can share something very quickly. It gets it out there live. It's very timely. And again, Twitter is good if you're wanting to network with other businesses. It maybe has fewer customers on there directly, but again, all the people who you encounter who are running businesses, who are themselves businesses, they are customers too. So I think Twitter is sometimes underestimated as a platform for reaching customers. And certainly, I keep saying it's great for networking. That's how I know Emily. So there's all kinds of fantastic networks on there, and things like Indie Hour, which is very popular and is a great way of independent traders to come together and meet other people all over the country and learn from what others are doing elsewhere. So it's a real source of support, and that has been particularly important, I think, during the last few months of COVID. And the joy of Twitter as well, it's very easy for customers and friends to mention you in a tweet. And I always find that if your business isn't on Twitter, you're kind of missing out on all these mentions that you might get if people are wanting to talk about you anyway. So tip 3, and it's very much linked to the previous things really about Instagram and Twitter and Facebook too. Images and video are are really important. And certainly if you use images and video, you will tend to get more reaction, more engagement than if you just do a update that is text. And if you include people like these lovely ladies here at Circle Vintage in Durham, who I work with, photographs and video of people tend to do better than any other kind of photograph or video, because people like to know who the shopkeepers are. They like to see the characters, the personalities behind these small businesses. And so, you know, I do things like I featured these ladies here as the cover stars on the Indie Durham City Facebook and Twitter, for example. So I put them up top in the banner, and it's a great way to give exposure to these kind of people who are the essence and the distinctiveness and the soul behind all these businesses in the places that we all know and love. And so Bob here at Bonbons in Chesterley Street, he went viral. He was the talk of the town for a fortnight. He got about 10,000 views of this picture on Facebook, so he was delighted. And again, it was just going into the shop, seeing him stood there in front of those jars, and me saying, "Bob, don't move. That's a fantastic photograph." And so it proved. So it's having that eye and seeing content, you know, as you're going about your everyday work. And you know, even I get down and dirty sometimes. So I'm not scared of using my profile to showcase the businesses I work with. And this picture here, it got about 5,000 views on Facebook. So it helped spread the word about what Seasons Whole Foods in Chesterley Street was doing in terms of branching into more environmentally friendly products. And Miss Elephant, openings are always good. They were doing tastings here, and again I shared this. It got lots of comments and likes and about 10,000 views, and helped to kind of ensure that Miss Elephant kind of made a splash when they first opened in Chesterley Street. So it shows the power of a well captured and an attractive image, really. Tip 4, using apps and selling platforms. So as well as social media, there are all kinds of other tools out there that you might use as well. So one that is often talked about is ShopAppy. It's something that you may have heard of. It operates in different parts of the country. I think the nearest one to Exeter is currently Wells, but if a group of traders in Exeter or somewhere else wanted to come together and basically showcase their products online, they could do. It's an affordable platform that plenty of independent traders are finding useful in different parts of the country. And Roam is one that I like a lot. Emily is a fan as well, so I've used her tweet here. And Roam it's a kind of app that helps to showcase shops and cafes and other businesses on the high street, and effectively gives them their own app as a way of communicating with new and existing customers. So there's a quick summary here of what Roam is. So it's free. So it's unless you want to kind of send out more than 4 alerts a month, it's completely free to use. And you claim your listing on Roam that's already there. So if you have a Google My Business listing, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you're already on Google My Business, you automatically have a listing on Roam as well. So it's very easy to claim that and to start pushing out alerts and things, and basically using Roam as if it's your own app. And Babbles that you saw on the page before, they're having real success. It's a restaurant in Barnard Castle, and they're using Roam to exclusively push out their loyalty deals, for example. So it's a really nice example of how they're building a following and using this platform, and it's not costing them anything to use it, but it's helping to generate more people in the restaurant at a time when it's more important than ever to fill those seats and to get customers coming back. So if you go onto roam-local.co.uk, you'll find more about that. And the final tip is lay out the red carpet. So it's all well and good having all this good stuff online, sending out offers, but ultimately people are going to come back, if they have a really good experience when they visit. And so in the case Sanderson Arcade here, a small shopping centre in Morpeth, they quite literally put out the red carpet at Christmas. But it's more about making sure that you give people a really good welcome. So here, for example, is Guru Boutique. It's a business I love in Darlington. Beryl has been running it for almost half a century, and it's a fantastic, quirky shop with a nice window, plants. You know, it looks very warm and welcoming, and gives people a great first impression and a great insight into what the business is about. It's a warm and friendly and welcoming business, and those values kind of permeate, you know, all the social media and all the way it communicates as well. Here's Marshall and Pearson in Fort William, a business that looks really good at night, you're all lit up, and it's making the point that you don't have to have glamorous products to make a lovely window. You know, even if you got a display of Miracle Grown saucepans, you can still make it look lovely in the way that Marshall and Pearson do here. R.A. Willison in Whitby, again, you know, it's a simple window, but it's making a virtue of the beautiful products they have, you know, all that colourful fruit, and making it look incredibly fresh and appealing, and then kind of Amore Flowers in Widnes, another one that I like. It just looks, you know, clean and tidy and welcoming, and it's you know, it gives a good impression of the business. And in turn, if you have a shop that looks lovely, it can generate content for you as well, because it gives you stuff to share, you know, on social media to drive more people into your shop, and so it goes on and on. So it's seeing these two things. It's seeing the real life shop and the marketing side of it, you know, all in combination, because one drives the other. And to end on Malin and Mac again, the store that I opened with, it opened in Durham only a few weeks ago after lockdown, and it's a beautiful interior. It's very Instagrammable, and the people behind the shop have done all that themselves. They've made all these shelves and tables and light fittings, and it's fantastic because it's created something that is getting lots of attention already, because it looks so cool, and it looks really welcoming and really attractive, and it's great for spreading the word on social media. The posts that I did on Twitter and LinkedIn about this shop have been seen about 5,000 times already, and that's already driving footfall into the shop. So it shows the power of some lovely imagery to drive people in who will buy stuff and in turn spread the word themselves. So a quick summary of the points I made. So get on Google My Business. It's free. You might as well. It's important. People are going to look on Google anyway. So it's important to be there and important to be right. Be social. So, you know, do get on social media. Pick the networks that suit you best. There's no need to be on all of them, but I think, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter are certainly, you know, all very valuable. And Twitter is often undervalued, I think, as a network for building connections and reaching people and growing your business. Sell using images and video. So I've shown you the power of a picture, and particularly a picture of you. So don't be scared to feature yourselves, you know, in your kind of photographs and video, because that will, you know, often break down the barrier and encourage people in and help you tell your story. Use apps and selling platforms. So, you know, if you want to get out there and reach people in other ways, look at things like Shopappy and Roam and work out what's right for your particular business in terms of selling what you offer and reaching your customers. And lay out the red carpets. So you do all these things to attract people and raise awareness of what and where you are, and make sure that when they arrive, they get a fantastic experience and they want to Instagram your shop and they want to come back. There we are, a quick summary of my contact details, and I'd love to hear from you if you've got any questions or comments.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Graham. That's brilliant. I mean, yeah, 5 brilliant top tips. And I think what I take away from that is it's all about the people, isn't it? It's about the people behind the businesses, but the consumers really want to know who's behind that too. And I know that some people are a little bit daunted about being in their social media stories, their tweets, their Instagram, their Facebook, but it has been proven that if people see the person behind the business, it does create a bigger audience for that person, a bit of better following. There are a couple of shops in Exeter that are really good and only started because of the lockdown, of being in those stories themselves. And it's built up a better connection. And I know people that's going to Indie Hour. I know Richard, who runs that, who does an amazing job.
Yeah.
But he's encouraging more and more people to show us where you are. Just do a walk around, introduce yourself and your business online, which I know is via Twitter, but there are other means of doing it. But it also just builds up that link that you are a human as well. Yeah. Isn't that right? Is your sort of, and I think when people get to know the person behind the business, their passion for that business also comes out even more so. And I think, again, it comes down to the person, but the passion and the expertise that they've got for their industry. We've got some amazing plant shops in Exeter, and they've got their knowledge, and they've lockdown, I think baking and houseplants went through the roof. Yeah. And it just shows that if you've got that knowledge and that passion, it can drive people to your shop or online, whichever way they're doing. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's just getting over the first nerves of doing it, like doing your first presentation on Zoom, which I can imagine.
Exactly, it's a no-brainer really. I know it's hard, and I know how many occasions I have to persuade the retailers I work with that they do really want to be the cover star and they do really want me to photograph them. But generally speaking, after I do it and they feature and they see the positive reaction, they start to learn that actually they are the biggest selling point of the business, because the whole point of shopping local and the whole point of independence is that it's not anonymous, it's not big and corporate. And I was quoted in a Norwegian magazine a few weeks ago, because it was an interview about Amazon opening in Scandinavia, and I made the point that Amazon can get bigger and bigger, but it can't get more human. And that, I think, is the really important thing, is that you can't compete with Amazon in terms of its scale or in terms of its pricing necessarily, but you can compete in terms of being distinctive, being human, and being you, and having all that distinctiveness, all that knowledge. It's like Malin and Mac, as I showed you in that picture. All those products in that shop are made by 30 different crafters, all in County Durham. So it's a unique combination of things. Some of those products and some of those traders have never sold on the high street before. So there's so many stories you can tell, and I'm looking forward to seeing those stories being told in the months to come.
Yeah, no, there was wonderful photos, and obviously they caught my eye because they had a little bit of crochet work in it, a bit of wool, and I just thought that's someone, again, putting time and effort to put the work into to create something out and being able to sell it. I think it's such a wonderful thing to do. So is it called what was the name of the shop again?
It's called Malin and Mac.
Malin and Mac. Okay, well, best of luck to them. I'm sure they'll do amazing jobs.
Yeah.
And there are so many different opportunities to be able to sell your products online, even though we want people to come to your high street, but we're not quite sure how the situation's going. So quite a few people are using Instagram and Facebook, but as you mentioned on Shop Happy, I had a conversation with Shop Happy earlier this year, actually, just via Twitter, as I usually am. And it was great to speak to Jackie, and she's done a great job with her platform. And I connected with it in Banbury, because I used to live in Banbury, and I connected with Barry via Indie Hour, who runs the art shop, the Artery in there. And it's being able to bring people to his store in a different way. And I think it's a very good platform. So yeah, have a look into that if anyone wants to. I recommend it.
Yeah. It's an important point. I think sometimes people are a bit scared by the idea of selling online, and they think that they need a flashy website and things, but actually you don't. You can kind of often tap into other things like Shop Happy, or even in many cases there are small businesses who will promote products on Facebook, and people will send a message and say, I'd like that. It doesn't have to be kind of slick. It can be very simple if you like. And in Durham as well, Durham Markets has recently launched a website where you can kind of order from different traders in the market hall, and get those delivered via a low carbon, e-bike delivery service within a 5-mile radius. And that's fantastic, because it's turning the different market traders, almost into a kind of supermarket or a department store. And that's got lots of legs, and we're seeing some businesses in Durham that aren't in the market hall piggybacking onto that now as well. So all that kind of thing is really effective too. And it's not detracting from the experience of going into the market hall, but it's spreading the word about businesses that it's possible you haven't heard of if you haven't been into the market hall before. So I think it's good to have these combinations of online and offline, particularly in the current COVID climate.
Yeah, talking about COVID, then it's been a funny year for everyone. There've been ups and downs everywhere. What are your major sort of what have you noticed of people being able to survive with new guidelines? I don't want to say restrictions, because that's a horrible word, but guidelines that have been put in place, such as limits into their business, different hours of trading. What's your feeling on it, or your opinion?
Well, obviously it's extraordinarily stressful. It's extraordinarily confusing. I'm talking to you from a tier 2 area at the moment that might in the future be a tier 3, but we don't quite know. And I think the fact that so many businesses have managed to get through all this so far and remain reasonably upbeat and determined and resilient, those are the qualities I keep seeing in people. I don't find people out there who are willing to give up. Everyone is dogged in their determination to get through this one way or another, and it's producing such a lot of creativity and innovation. So things like the Durham market, online selling, that grew out of some of the traders themselves, starting to sell online during lockdown when they couldn't open the market hall itself. And we've got lots of examples as well of businesses I work with that have really upped their game in terms of social media as well. Even businesses who had been quite quiet or reluctant before, really got going with it. And that's so important, because the worst thing that I think anyone can do during a lockdown or during this period is to go quiet. Even if you're in a period when you can't trade and it's really tough, keep those conversations going, because certainly in Durham and Chesley Street, the places that I work, we've seen that those businesses that have kept up the conversations, that have kept in touch with their customers, those are the ones that customers have flocked back to as soon as they could to give their support.
Yeah, definitely. That's similar down here as well. You keep those conversations going, guys, and we know that the passion within you will drive you onwards, so keep it up. So that wraps us up for our 5th in conversation. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and thank you, Graham. And I'm sure we'll meet again on Twitter or wherever we end up next.
I'm sure we'll meet very soon. Yes, it's been a pleasure.
Brilliant.
Thank you.